thank y'all for being here. This is a concern, I think, for people in Woods County, and I think it's a concern for every registered voter in the town of Rhonda. My opinion is that every registered voter in the town of Rhonda's constitutional rights were violated. Y'all may not know that, but I'm going to try to explain that to y'all. Y'all all know that I was elected as a commissioner here in the town of Rhonda. I served on the board here in the town of Rhonda. I was honored to do that. I felt like I did a good job. Though many of y'all might have not been here when I was sworn in, I took an oath, I put my hand on the Bible that I would protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of North Carolina. I took that very seriously. I know that there's many people that paid the sacrifice for us to have constitutional rights. I watched documentaries of people that were in World War II, and they stormed the beaches of Normandy. You know, when people talk about kids who are 18 years old getting shot in the gut, crying for their mama while they bled out and died on that beach, so we could have constitutional rights. That's important to me. That should be important to everybody in this room. And so I stood for the Constitution. I stood for the oath that I took when I got elected, and I was punished for that. If they want to go after our former president and say that he violated election interference, violated an outcome of the election, or attempted to, I know no evidence of anything that's done in that case. But if they will go after somebody like that, why should somebody local get a free pass? Doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I want to explain to you how, by my rights being violated, it affected the rights of every voter in this town. So I've got a little presentation here. I want to try to go through it. And I'll tell you what I think Rhonda can do about it. Protect every one of y'all's rights. So, and I'm not that good with technology. But y'all bear with me. So, as y'all know, I had some criminal stuff that was looked at while I was commissioner. And it all started because of an incident report. And here's a copy of the initial incident report. My former girlfriend, on September 20th, 2018, reported a theft here in Rhonda at my home. Deborah Gold. So that's a copy of the theft report, and it's highlighted the date, the 20th of September 2018. So let's remember that date. This is an email that was sent from our elected district attorney, Tom Horner, to the State Bureau of Investigations, January 11th of 2022. She accused me of having something that she had reported stolen. And she also thought that the Woods County Sheriff's Office would be biased toward me. So she brought in the State Bureau of Investigation. So our elected DA asked the State Bureau of Investigation to get involved and do the investigation. So they took over the investigation. So after that, what happens is, on January 26th, I went in for a voluntary interview with the State Bureau of Investigations. And in that interview, they showed me 4 photographs of jewelry. These are the photographs that they showed me. They said they're crystal clear, good photographs. Y'all decide if those are good photographs or not.
Well, I have to get closer.
But those photographs were shown to me in an interview, and they were asking me, did I have any of that in my house? That's the photos they showed me. They did a 49-minute interview with me, and that's the only time they interviewed me. All right, that was January 26th. After that interview, they came to my home. In that interview, I told them that all the jewelry that was in my home was in my safe. And they were welcome to come and look. As you can see highlighted, it tells you I signed the consent to search form. It says Reese walked the agents into the guest bedroom and opened the safe containing the jewelry. So I cooperated and I let them look through everything that I had. So after that, they identified this ring, this particular ring here. And y'all can see this ring was appraised for me in my name on March 10th, 2018. Now remember, it was in September of 2018 she reported the theft. This was appraised in my name in March before she reported the theft. So they took this ring from me when they came to my home on January 26th. So we know that. All right, so what happens after that, I tell them that I had purchased the ring. Now I want to tell y'all why I purchased this ring. Now this ring belonged to Miss Goldman before I met her. Miss Goldman had no income. She had a daughter going to Appalachian State. She had wanted to sell this ring. She took it to a couple different jewelry stores to see what they'd pay her for it. She got estimates between $15,000 and $20,000. That's what they would pay her wholesale to resell it, to make a profit. She said to me that one day she hoped to have a granddaughter, and if she had the granddaughter, she was hoping to pass that ring to the granddaughter. I was hopeful that Goldman and I would get married and have a family again. That's all I ever wanted after my wife passed away, was a family, somebody to care for me. That's all I wanted. So I agreed to purchase the ring for her, from her, with the understanding that she could buy it back from me at any point for $17,000, or that if we became husband and wife and she had a granddaughter, it would be community property, and of course she could just give it to the granddaughter. That was our agreement. She wanted the money to help her daughter with her college. So that's how I came about it. When the same person that did the appraisal for me signed an affidavit that stated that she had came into the jewelry store with me. She informed them the appraisal should be put in my name. She told the jewelry store that she had sold me the ring. Well, the way they were familiar with the ring is she had went to them and tried to sell it to them a couple weeks before. When she came back in, they assumed she was going to sell it to them, and she said, no, I've sold it to Kevin. We need to do an appraisal in his name. So that's how they did it. So they signed an affidavit saying that. And we supply this affidavit to an attorney to the DA's office. So they know this affidavit exists. They know I'm stating an ownership claim in this. Now, what happens next is the State Bureau of Investigations writes a synopsis up for the district attorney to decide what they're going to do with this case. This was done on February 26th. This synopsis includes the affidavit I just told you about, stating that I was the owner of the property before she reported it stolen. That's what it states. So the district attorney looks at all that information and makes a decision of what he's going to do with this case. So what happens next is on April 14th, District Attorney Horner declines prosecution, and he advises that the diamond ring be turned to an insurance company, because Ms. Goldman, when she reported it stolen, she filed it on the insurance policy. It wasn't my insurance policy, it was her policy. No money came to me. I never saw a check, I never saw a dime, and it's my argument, and y'all understand why I've got supportive evidence in this argument, that I never knew that she ever reported it stolen. I never knew that she collected any money on it. But they find out through this investigation that she was paid for this item. So the DA says, let's just turn it over to the insurance company, and we're not going to prosecute anybody. All right, so we see that happen. And by the way, all these files are official files from, these are all official files from the discovery that was provided to me by the state of North Carolina. What I've done, instead of showing y'all all these big pages, I've just highlighted the parts from the pages. So that's where that comes from.
What was the jewelry store?
It was Windsor Jewelers in Winston.
Is they the ones that gave you the appraisal?
That's right.
Okay.
So here we have an email with the insurance adjuster SBI agent that was involved in the case, and North Carolina Department of Insurance law enforcement. And this is on April 19th. This is after Horner's decided no prosecution. On April the 19th, the Department of Insurance tells the insurance company and the SBI that before that ring can be turned over, they have to verify it is the same ring that she filed on her insurance. Because it don't have a serial number, right? So we have Department of Insurance saying you've got to do this. Well, there's no indication that that ever happened. So the next thing that we have is the State Bureau of Investigations agent on April 19th contacts my former girlfriend, Miss Goldman. He tells Miss Goldman that D.A. Horner was such a district attorney that if you look through the files, it's D.A. Horner. That there would be no criminal charges in the matter and the investigation would be closed. And that the recovered ring would be sent to USA Insurance. Now, April 19, 2022, I was the Rhonda County Commissioner sitting on this board. Okay? So right here we see there's going to be no criminal charges. We see that. Alright? So what happens next is, on April 29th, the State Bureau of Investigations turns this ring over to the insurance company. Okay? So we see that that happens. So the next thing that happens, the jewelry store that signed the original affidavit, they look through their storage to find documents, for me. And they find the original receipt showing me signing, dropping it off for an appraisal, and me picking it up, the dates I did that. That was all prior to her reporting it stolen. And they find the sales receipt in my name where I paid for the appraisal to take the form, and they give that to me. Well, at this point, I've decided that we have a lot of corruption going on with law enforcement and these type of things. So I decided I'm going to write a book about it. I decided that. So what I do is I hire somebody to write a book for me. And I decide I'm going to hire an attorney to sue to get my property back. Because, and I'm just winging this is not exactly the way I want to go about this, but bear with me. Every person in America has a right. Who has never heard this? No citizen shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Every person knows that. It's a guaranteed protected right. In Nazi Germany, they just come in, take whatever they want of yours. Hey, you're lucky they didn't kill you, but you couldn't go to court and get it back. You couldn't put forth your evidence. You had no right. Think about that. If law enforcement can come in and take something that belongs to you and deprive you of it, and you don't have a right to go before a judge to put forth your evidence, is that the America that all those soldiers died for us to have? I don't think so. So I decided to exercise my right and take them to court. Because I never got a hearing before a judge. D.A. Horner turned this property over without talking to me, my lawyer, or getting any consent from me whatsoever, or getting an approval from a judge. Period. But if I would have accepted that, I'd still be sitting on that board up there right now. Because there was going to be no criminal charges. Y'all saw that. But I decided to exercise my constitutional rights to due process the property. I wanted a hearing before a judge to say, that's mine, I want it back. And let a judge decide. They deprived me of that. So I go and I meet with Chris Hugh, the sheriff. And I take him those two receipts y'all just saw. I take him this book contract on June the 1st that I signed with Deanie Taylor. And I paid her a retainer. It was quite a bit of a retainer to help me write a book. I did not mean to take that book contract to the sheriff. But I did, by mistake. It was in the files I took. I took him the receipts. I took him that contract. And I took him a letter from my attorney that I hired. And this is parts from that letter. In the event arrangements are not made for the return of the ring at issue to Mr. Reese within 10 days of the date of this letter, I have been instructed to file civil action against USA Insurance Company. That's who got it. And then on June the 16th, my attorney sent a request to the insurance company to preserve documents. Anybody knows that means a lawsuit's coming. Well, I want y'all to think about that. The insurance company is going to say, we only have this ring because the police gave it to us. The police is going to say, we only gave it to you because the DA told us to. So that could make the DA look really bad. Think about that.
It does.
All right, so what happens next is my attorney sends the DA a letter, and in that letter, he's writing to determine whether there's an ongoing criminal investigation into me for the alleged theft of this ring. He writes him a letter. So here's what happens next. District Attorney Horner sends a letter to my lawyer. I don't have it highlighted, but it says, based upon new information recently provided by law enforcement, there's a strong potential for criminal charges. When you look through my file, and they have to, by law, provide you all the evidence against you before trial so you can prepare for trial. They have to do that. So, if there's something in there, they didn't put it in there because the only thing I can tell you is from the time they turned that ring over, which was April 29th, to the time of June 29th letter, is the 2 receipts I gave Sheriff Shue, a letter from my attorney threatening a lawsuit, and I was threatening to write a book. So Horner's own admission is based on information recently provided by law enforcement why he was deciding to charge me. Those were constitutional protected acts.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm confused. Why did the insurance company end up with the ring?
Well, so when she reported it stolen, she filed it on her insurance, and they paid her for it evidently. So if it would have been legit and it had been stolen and she had it insured, they would have paid her for it, and if it was ever recovered, they would have got it back. You know, they would have then been the owner. So that's the reason. That's kind of how insurance works. But what I'm saying is there was going to be no criminal charges. The case was completely closed, but they had turned my property over to somebody without giving me due process of law. So I exercise my constitutional rights. I'm going to take it before a judge to get them to hear my side. But that could have made the DA look bad. So we get told, based on new information by law enforcement, there was no new information except the threat of me suing. That's it. That's it. And that's it. It's going to make the DA look bad. So what happens is then, I'm told by my attorney that DA Horner says, if Reese doesn't sign his right to that ring away, he'll be charged. Okay? I don't sign my right to that ring away. Then I'm told if I file any action to get that back, I'm going to be charged. We had time to file, so we didn't file immediately. You know what I mean? To get it back.